Hey guys, hope you're well. My name is Rob. Welcome to Connected Rugby League. In this video, I'll be giving you my Super League Round 24 power rankings. Let's get started. Just so you guys know, the way I'm going to do this is slightly different to normal. I'm going to be very quick with the bottom few teams, and then once I start getting into playoff contenders and League Leader Shield contenders, I'm going to break down a little bit what they need. So it's going to be less about the results from last week. I'll talk about them very briefly and then actually go into a bit more detail on playoff chances and League Leader Shield chances. So just to make that very clear, slightly different to normal. Starting with 12th place, and still in 12th place, I have Hull FC. Again, still nothing to fall back on. Obviously, 20 points isn't too bad, but conceding 39 against Castleford, who haven't been great over the past couple of weeks. There was a period where they were good, but to concede that many points against another team that's low down, this is one of your best chances in the remaining games to pick up points. Not great in attack, not great in defence overall. So Hull FC still in 12th. Moving on to 11th, and still in 11th, I have the London Broncos. I think unlike Hull FC, as I also said last week as well, they at least have an attack to fall back on. Really good effort against Leeds. They must feel extremely disappointed after the last time they played each other. But still great work in attack. Defensively, still working on it. But overall, looking a lot better over the past month and a half from London. Very proud of their efforts, but still in 11th. Moving on to 10th place and moving down one, I have the Huddersfield Giants. Possibly a little bit harsh, given the result against a strong team like Saints. Generally speaking, when they've got their full team available, but I think based on the fact that they're still a pretty poor team overall, plus the result from last week as well, yeah, I think it was probably worth moving them down. So Huddersfield down one in 10th. Moving on to 9th place and moving up one, I have the Castleford Tigers. This is a result of probably a somewhat okay effort against Warrington last week, and then at least looking comfortable against Hull FC. It is only Hull FC, but pairing those results, or those performances back to back, I should say, it at least trumps what Huddersfield has been able to do over the last 2 weeks. So I don't think that's anything to really sing and dance about, but it's only a small change. The gap's still very close. They could easily swap again next week, but Castleford Tigers up one in 9th. Moving on to 8th place, and still in 8th place, I have the Catalans Dragons. So let's talk about their playoff prospects now. They're in 7th at the moment. Now, of the 3 games left, they have Salford, London and Hull FC. They need to win at least 2, realistically. They should come from London and Hull FC. They should do. Now, if they win those 2 games, they can allow 1 win from Leeds. If they win 2 and Leeds match their number of wins, then they're in a points difference battle with Leeds. So they need to basically win at least 1 more than Leeds do. But they need to win at least 2. Okay, that's the baseline. Realistically, they also need to beat Salford this week. It is imperative that they beat Salford, because if they do, they can rely on expected results based on what I've already predicted for the remainder of the season. So if they win out against Salford and London and Hull FC, and the rest of the games go as expected, Catalans will be 4th. But as of right now, I'm going to predict that they'll finish 7th based on my remaining predictions. I'm not going to spoil what I think those will be, because I've got a predictions video coming up. But right now, Catalans, they need to win all 3, but need to at least win 2 to have a chance at playoffs. Moving on to 7th place, and still in 7th, I have Leeds Rhinos. So this one's going to be a complicated one, so I'm going to need you to bear with me on this. I'm going to try and keep it as clear and as simple as possible, so strap in, okay? This is how Leeds can make playoffs, or this is how it goes, okay? If Leeds win 0 games, they do not make the playoffs. Okay, that's simple enough to understand. They play Hull FC, Wigan and Hull KR. If they win 0 games, that means no playoffs. If they win 1 game, which I suspect that would probably be against Hull FC, if they win 1 game, they need any 2 from Saints, Salford, Leigh and Catalans to lose all remaining games. So if they only win 1, they need 2 of those 4 teams to get completely demolished for the remainder of the season. There's the next thing. If Leeds win 2 of their remaining 3 games, they can allow 1 win for all 4 of those teams. But there's a huge points difference battle against Saints and Leigh. So that's not really going to cut it. Now, if they win all 3 games, so if they beat Hull FC, if they manage to beat Wigan, and they manage to beat Hull KR, based on predictions for the remainder of the season for other teams, Leeds would finish 4th. Like, this is actually wild to me how high Catalans and Leeds could finish just by winning out the remainder of their games. It's going to be tough as hell against Wigan and KR, but if they do it and the rest of the games go as expected, they'll be 4th. So they need to win at least 2. They need to upset Wigan or Hull KR to have a realistic shot at the playoffs, but they'll need a bunch of things going their way, and points difference isn't in their favour against a couple teams. But if they win out, I think they'll actually be fine. So Leeds Rhinos still in 7th. Moving on to 6th place, and still in 6th, I have St Helens. Now let's talk about their playoff prospects. They play Warrington, Castleford and Leigh in their remaining fixtures. If they win 0 of those 3 games, they are at serious risk of dropping out. The only way that they probably don't drop out in that scenario is if a bunch of unexpected results go in their favour. So they don't want to be relying on others. Now, if they only win 1 of those 3 games, which I think they are likely to against probably Castleford, they should be fine based on points difference. If they win 2 of those 3 games, they should be completely fine. The only way that only winning 2 is a problem is if a bunch of results, like every possible result that they don't want to happen for the other fixtures, does happen. But if they win all 3, they'll be completely fine. So Saints is very simple. I predict, based on expected results right now, I predict they'll be in 6th. But right now, in terms of power rankings, Saints are still in 6th. Moving on to 5th place, and still in 5th, I have Salford Red Devils. Now, to talk about their playoff scenario, they play Catalans, Hull FC and Wigan in their remaining fixtures. First one's very simple. If they win all 3 games, they're safe. Simple as that. They win all 3, they are safe. If they only win 2 of those 3 games, they should be fine, but the same with what I said for Saints. If they win 2, the only way that they lose out is by the most miraculous scorelines in other fixtures. Their points difference isn't great right now, so that could be an issue, but if they win 2, they should be fine. If they win 1 game, if they only win 1, they need London or Hull FC to beat Catalans, or Castleford to beat Leigh and or Saints. So basically, Salford, you need to win 2 games, you'll be fine. If you only win 1, you're relying on London, Hull FC and Castleford to do you some favours. So make sure you get 2 wins. Based on predictions of expected results, I think they'll be 4th. Now, you might be a bit confused because I've already mentioned about Catalans, Leeds and Salford now being 4th. Leeds would be 4th if they won out and the rest were expected. Catalans would be 4th if they won out and the rest were expected. Salford, would be 4th if everything is as expected. So it's looking pretty safe for Salford right now. Moving on to 4th place and moving down 1, I have Warrington Wolves. Now let's talk about their playoff situation and League Leaders Shield situation as well. So they could finish as low as 5th. So of course they're locked into playoffs right now, they're completely safe, but I think mathematically they could be as low as 5th place. For the League Leaders Shield, Wigan versus Hull KR, that can go either way. So to stay within the League Leaders Shield race, that result can go either way. Preferably, it goes to Wigan, because it brings down the points difference of Hull KR, and they'd likely stay within the range of Wigan. They're above them right now for points difference, but I couldn't imagine that a win for Wigan would be so astronomical that it takes Wigan too far past Warrington, okay? So that can go either way, but preferably Wigan beating Hull KR, just for points difference. Whoever wins between Wigan and Hull KR must lose the remaining games. So if Wigan win, they have to lose their final 2. If Hull KR win, they have to lose their final 2. Okay? Now, both teams play Leeds, so there's one. Hull KR have to play Leigh as well, and Wigan have to play Salford. Both of those are tough ones that they could lose, but Leeds is the tricky one. As a Warrington fan, I am praying that Leeds turn into just the most gorgeous rugby league team you've ever laid your eyes on. Just for the next 3 weeks, and then playoffs, Warrington can take that mantle. But Leeds, I'm looking at you, okay? Finally, If either of those two teams win 2 games of the remaining 3, then top 2 is gone. Same with League Leaders Shield. So they can afford 1 win for Wigan, 1 win for Hull KR, and that is it. But Warrington have to win out. They have to. If they lose one of these games, there is no top 2 and no League Leaders Shield. Based on my predictions, overall, I think they'll be 3rd. So that's Warrington down 1 in 4th. Moving on to 3rd place and moving up 1, I have the Leigh Leopards. Now let's talk about their playoff situation as it stands right now. So if they win all 3 remaining games, they're safe. They cannot be caught by Catalans or Leeds if they win the remaining games. The next thing, they can't allow Catalans or Leeds to win more games than them. So if Leigh only win 1, they cannot have Catalans and Leeds winning 2. If they win 2, they cannot have Catalans and Leeds winning 3. Okay, so they need to win all 3 to be safe from those 2 teams. Now let's say that does happen. Let's say that they only win 1, Catalans and Leeds win 2 or more. If that's the case, Saints and Salford have to lose all 3 games. So if Leigh only win 1, Leeds and Catalans win more, they need Saints and Salford to get demolished. But they'll probably be fine. With the games that they've got, based on my predictions, I think Leigh will be 5th. So in terms of power rankings, Leigh up 1 in 3rd. Moving on to 2nd place, and still in 2nd, I have the Wigan Warriors. Now let's talk about their League Leaders Shield prospects. So, very simply, if they lose to Hull KR, it's not over. Obviously, it puts them in a great position. If they beat Hull KR, they just have to win the final 2 games, and they've got the Shield. Okay? But they could still win it even if they lose to Hull KR because of the number of games remaining. So, let's say they lose to Hull KR. They need to win their final 2 games. So as long as they win at least 2, they're still within a chance. But they need Leigh to beat Hull KR, not this round, but the round after. Which is, it is possible. Leigh's a strong team right now, and it is possible. So if Wigan don't win this, they need Leigh to do them a favour next week. Okay, so that's for Wigan. They will need to catch up on points difference though. So regardless of how that goes, let's say they get the wins, they need to catch up on points difference. If they win all 3 games, it's not an issue. It's completely fine. But the points difference is really far behind right now, so they are going to need some results going their way, even if Leigh does get that win against Hull KR. But right now, Wigan Warriors still in 2nd. Finally, in 1st place, and still in 1st place, I have the Hull Kingston Rovers. This one is also very, very simple. Same with Wigan. If they win the remaining games, they've won the trophy. It is that simple. If Hull KR win 3 in a row, they've won the trophy. They can still lose to Wigan and win the League Leaders Shield. The way that would work is, you lose to Wigan, you then need Wigan to lose to either Leeds or Salford. But you then also need to beat Leigh and Leeds. And in that case, points difference should be more than enough. I can't imagine that in that scenario, Wigan would have caught up that many points over the next 3 rounds, but anything can happen. So very simply, win all 3 games, you get the trophy. You can lose to Wigan, but you need Leeds or Salford to do you a favour whilst winning your final 2 games. And yeah, it's looking pretty likely for Hull KR right now. But in terms of power rankings, they're still in 1st. So that's going to be it for my Super League Round 24 power rankings. If you've got your own list, do let me know in the comments down below. I do apologise if the playoff stuff and the League Leaders Shield stuff was a bit confusing. I tried to make it as clear as I could, but you know, there is a lot going on at the moment. Even with only 3 games left, there's a lot of possibilities and a lot going on because it's so close with a lot of teams. But if you've got any thoughts on how things are going to go, do let me know as well. But that's going to be it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.